Yeah. Well, do you guys want to start off? Why don't we all introduce ourselves again for those who don't know us, and we can pick it up from there.
So my name is Kerri LaPierre. I'm a CPO and I've got 14 years of clinical experience. Our practice mostly sees lower extremity adult population, both prosthetics and orthotics, and I work in Rhode Island.
All right, I'm Derek Schmidt. I've moved out of direct patient care. So Limb and Lattice is my full-time job now. I basically do a lot of digital work for whoever needs it, from modifications to socket designs to preparing files for 3D printing. And run the DLC with Arthur.
Yeah. And I'm Arthur Hobden. I'm a digital design specialist and run O&P Digital Designer, an ABC accredited online academy for learning about digital design tools for O&P applications and helping people do it for way less and using tools that are outside the industry. And I'm really excited to align with you guys on this because it feels like, Kerri, you've kind of done something similar, right? You've had some issues with how the industry has been cataloging and working with parts and some of the challenges it is as a process to find correct data to make the right call.
So to be honest, I really love the community that you guys have created with the Digital Limb Collective. And I have envisioned this as integrating it like in the future into like a fully digital workflow where people are doing their socket design and their product selection digitally. I first got the idea to put this together about 2 years ago. I went to a professional conference and we were looking to sit in on a presentation for some new feet. They handed out a bunch of posters and flyers and like wall hangers. And I just thought to myself, aren't we past this? Like it was 2024 and I was like, is like printed marketing material really the best way that we have to, view these products and be able to compare them to one another? I know that companies have their own websites where you can look at that manufacturer's website, their portfolio products. But if you want to look at the span of what's available, it's kind of difficult. And there's just some barriers to doing that. So I thought I would try to do my best at getting everything together and putting it on a unified platform so that you can look at what's available, maybe see things when they come out and compare them across the board.
I had talked for years to the different manufacturers asking like, hey, can you make an app? Like everyone's got an app now. Can you guys make an app and just put it all right there where I can just go to your app, look up feet real quick? And no one ever wanted to take that on.
Yeah, I definitely recognized that marketing material becomes obsolete so quickly. Like the second you put up a portfolio, like a little poster from a manufacturer of what feet they offer, they're going to change it. You know what I mean? And so even what I've built, I would say it would be great at some point if I could integrate with some of these companies and be like, hey, can you like automatically update things? Right now, it'll still have to be manual, but still, at least it's all in one place. And at least it is like an app and not just, oh yeah, I think I got a brochure for that somewhere.
Yeah. I think having it in one place is huge too. Because you don't want to go to 10 apps, so.
Yeah. Well, I think clinicians just sometimes get in a little bit of a rut of this is what I use because there's that lack of transparency. There's that lack of visibility in seeing what's out there. So after you go through all that you have to go through for insurance and authorizations and putting together all that paperwork, you're like, I just want what I know works. I just want to use what I'm comfortable with and that's it. And I think that we could probably get some better results if we were being a little bit less repetitive with our product selections.
So do you think that these vendors are intentionally making it obscure to prevent an honest apples to apples comparison? Like, do you think there's actually friction being introduced for that reason?
I think that there is absolutely an incentive to want to push clinicians toward only their products. So of course, I'm sure that there's some element of that. To what extent they're doing that, I don't know, but there is some exposure to it because if you use a distributor like SPS or Cascade, then you can get a little bit of comparison. But then there's also some limitations of maybe a particular manufacturer that you like or would like to use is not working with that distributor. So there are some limitations there. I would say probably, to answer your question a little bit more directly, probably they are. But as we know, being open to whatever's available is like the best situation for our patients.
Yeah.
And knowing what's available is a huge challenge. I undertook a project like this at one of my previous jobs to make basically an Excel sheet of feet and knees for us to use in clinic. And I tried to gather as much information. I used SPS and Cascade basically to L code search things out and put them in there and just try to get everyone on the team to know, hey, if you're looking at this foot, like here's your 12 other options that are similar. It was a ton of work to gather that. And you gathered way more than that. Like I was looking at L codes and pricing essentially. It was basically a cost assessment tool. And yours goes way beyond that into build heights and all these other important weight ranges and things like that.
Well, it was a lot of work to compile that information. And the first thing that I noticed, and honestly, I thought maybe this is too much work for one person, but we've all run into a situation where a manufacturer will market a foot or whatever, and they'll say it's weight rated up to 300 pounds. And so you'll have a heavier patient and you'll think, oh, great, I love this foot, but maybe it's only sizes like 27 to 30 that's weight rated up to 300 pounds. The lower size is like 22, 23, 24 actually has a completely separate weight rating. So I did have to go look those up. And when you're looking at the app, the reason that it's in there by size is so that you can search by weight, just so that you can get a better idea of if that product truly is weight rated for that capacity at the size you're looking for.
So you've made an app for those of us. We're going to see a demo of this in a few minutes, but so if you have it as an app on your iOS device, let's say, and it's in your back pocket, how do you see it being used in the day-to-day when a clinician's out in the field or practically going between offices?
I think that where it will be the most useful is for comparing products and for avoiding those uncomfortable situations, being in those situations where maybe you're like, I want to try something, but I'm not sure about it. Hopefully reducing risks of the insurance denials because you understand the product and you understand why you're choosing it for the patient. And there's a little bit of justification that's tied to the written instructions that explains the justification for why it fits that code. So you can also be hopefully less likely to run into those situations where a patient is unhappy with a product and maybe leaves your office and goes somewhere else because they can't distinguish between I didn't like that product that we tried and versus I didn't like you as a prosthetist. So I would say that that's probably going to be your biggest take home with using a tool like this so that you can increase your confidence.
Nice.
Well, you want to jump into it? You want to lead into the demo here?
So what you see in the center is how it would look on a phone. So this is the registration screen, and this is what you would first see when you log in. There are some things like name, email, certification number. Once you log in and you make this account, then you'll appear as one of the people in the community on the side here. If you look down the bottom, you've got browse all, feet, knees, hips, and leg systems. Feet, knees, and hips we're all familiar with. Leg systems is just those integrated options like the Aqualim, the Lynx, and the Census, where it's like a knee and a foot put together. They were a little bit more difficult to put into, like, say, just the knee or the foot table. So I just separated them out for that purpose. But you can browse either by all, or you can stick to a specific component. When you are searching and you put information in up here, it will automatically populate this list. So I'm just going to go down to the bottom here. As you'll see right now, there are 39 pages of products, and that's because there's everything. But if I were to type 500 pounds, because it's in pounds here, then you'll see that there's just these 3 products that are weight rated for that. So when you put information into these items, it automatically filters below. There's no submission. And you can also search by max build height in inches, or you can search by L code. So searching by L code for browse all is a little intimidating because everything is there. But when you go to each individual page and you search by L code, it's just the L codes for, in this case, the feet or the knees or the hips. So it's a little less intense doing it that way. If you do put information in here and you search through and you want to clear it, you can just use that button to clear all. And then also I've got other ways to filter things, which is with this button, I've got manufacturers, categories, which I've listed here, energy storing feet, flexible keel feet, satch feet, and so on. Available sizes, if you wanted to see just specific sizes. Specialty was if you're looking for like a very unique activity specific device, that's what specialty really lends itself to.
It looks like sizes is by shoe size. Not
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So available sizes, these are pediatric. So yeah, you could search by adult, pediatric, or unspecified, but available sizes is in, you could search by only those that are PDAC approved, or you could search by water capability if you were looking for something that was resistant in chlorinated water, corrosion resistant. And then also if you wanted to talk about the baseline, by the way, is suitable for outdoor use. So suitable for outdoor use is pretty much everything. There's nothing less waterproof or water resistant than that. It was just sort of like a catch-all because that's mostly what it says. If you look in the instructions for use, that's what the baseline is.
I like that.
But
that is something that I would say over the last 5 to 10 years feels like it comes up a lot more than it used to.
if you click on a product, like as I said, it filters down here, you'll get a details page. And in the details page, there's just a little image so that you can get an idea of what you're looking at. And then there's that category, energy storing foot. If you click on this button, this brings you to the ratings page. I put a comment on this foot, and hopefully as people start to use it, you'll see more comments. You can also rate it from 1 to 5. And then when you're done with that, you hit submit, and then it will start to calculate an average rating over time, which is where you would see like overall what people are rating it out of a 1 through 5. If you scroll down further on the details page, one thing that I did was convert everything across the board. So sometimes manufacturers will list a build height in millimeters only, but I've converted it to inches as well. So if you like using inches, then you can use inches and compare it to the next one. If you like using millimeters, you can use millimeters. The product weight max in pounds is, the product weight max in grams or pounds. A lot of manufacturers will report a weight, but they just give an average. They'll say like a size 27, this is the weight. And I don't have access to any further information than that. So it's just what's reported, just what's available based on what's out there. So it might not be exact because that information isn't being reported. And that is one of those things that I hope will change over time to have that information more readily accessible from the manufacturers. But I could only get what is out there. If you wanted to go to the manufacturer's website and take a look, see if there's some information that I missed that you wanted to see, then you can just click that link and it'll bring you there. And then down the bottom, I've got some key features. In this particular example, I actually like that I clicked on this one. It says spring deflection, 26 anterior, posterior, and 12 medial lateral. So I am specifically using the term spring deflection because if you look at their website, they talk about the foot having that full range of motion as though it were an articulating foot.
Mm-hmm.
But as you and I know, a patient that's walking on that foot is really never going to get that range. It's not like the foot is really moving. That is what is like end range spring deflection, like under high loads. I mean, maybe if someone was like, you know, running or doing something really intense, high impact, they might get that.
Hill on their toe.
Yeah, I mean, but if you see the words spring deflection here, what I'm talking about is like, you know, a non-articulating foot, meaning there's no ankle, there's no motion that's happening. Like, as an example, let me just go back here for a second and I'll go to an articulating foot. So I'm just going to go to feet, and I happen to know, so L5968. So I'm going to just scroll down. That one. There we go, echelon. Okay, so the echelon, a hydraulic foot, has 9 degrees range of motion. 6 plantar flexion, and 3 dorsiflexion. But, and as you know, like that's an actual hydraulic foot. That patient, no matter, it's not dependent upon like the weight, the impact that they're putting on it. They're going to get that range of motion. They can just be heel toeing around and they'll get that 9. Now, one thing that's nice to compare is if you're looking at different hydraulic feet, some have 9 degrees range of motion, some have much more than that. And some I know have like 1 degree of dorsiflexion, and almost all of it is in plantar flexion. But that is another great way to compare if you're looking at hydraulic ankles. If you're saying like, okay, how much motion is this actually going to offer? How much of it is dorsiflexion? How much of it is plantar flexion? I think that's a great way to compare.
Yeah, that's nice because yeah, they're not all the same.
No. If you wanted to add it, you know, say this is a foot that you use all the time, you can click that button and it'll add it to a favorites list. And you can click this button to add it to the compare list. Now, on the left-hand side, this is where all those favorites are located. And say I just put the echelon over here. So this is that details page again. If you wanted to order it on SPS, and it just so happens that Blatchford almost exclusively works with SPS, so there aren't any others listed, but you could click this button and it'll take you to the manufacturer's, right, the supplier's website to purchase that if you wanted to. If you wanted to get it off of this list, if you said, okay, I'm all set with it, you can hit this button here to remove it. And then this one here is available at SPS, Cascade, and Pell. So any one of those, you can go to their website. And as Derek pointed out, you could do a cost comparison if you had multiple accounts and you wanted to do that.
So let's do a real world example.
Sure.
I'll let you drive. But I'm in a room with a patient. They're going to be a size 25 foot. And they weigh 220 pounds. And let's say we're looking for something with vertical shock. So a 5988.
So you could do a 5988 or a 5987, just because I know from the repetition of doing this that you'll have a completely different list with these two. But so as an example, 220 pounds and a size 25, which I put in here, a 5988. You've got the Echelon VT, the balance foot S, and the balance foot S with torsion. So another thing that I just wanted to point out is this is the justification area. So the Echelon VT is the manufacturer recommended codes are L5981, L5986, and L5988. So this here is how I have, it's called the justification, but what is written down that relates to the code description. So the device is described as a foot, including a heel and toe spring made of E-carbon. That's their like proprietary material. That's how it best relates to that 5981 code. And then if you look in here on page 3 of the instructions for use, it's outlined as a foot, and it's outlined as having the heel and toe springs being made of E-carbon on page 5. If you wanted to actually like look that up, you can click on the instruction manual and it'll bring you to that, and you can like look at the page. But that's like, if you were ever questioned from a standpoint of like, where did you pull this information from? And I'm not saying we're there yet, but I think at some point we're going to be getting to a place where it's like, where is it written down? The Echelon VT has 9 degrees of range of motion, 6 plantar flexion, 3 dorsiflexion, and it has axial movement of plus or minus 15 degrees maximum rotation. We go back, balance foot S, they have this torsion adapter here. It has the base code of L5972, L5984, and L5988. I tried to, in all these justifications, list, if it was listed, that complete range, meaning plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, axial rotation. In some cases, it's not listed what the range is. I will tell you that because they have so many hydraulic feet, Blatchford does tend to put it in there. The balance foot S, which is more of along the lines of like a K2 foot, just says helps to restore rotational capabilities. And then under the L5988, you'll start to laugh as you start to read these justifications. I'm pulling them from the instruction manuals, brochures, and catalogs, but what they have to say is that it's valuable shock absorption. No actual written down amount that I could find.
So is it safe to say that you've read more product manuals and descriptions than anyone else in the field at this point?
Well, I'm giggling to myself because I have spent a lot of time on those justifications. And I know, like, as an example, if I were doing this, L5984 in general is just a tough code to justify. A lot of the manufacturers that recommend that code, it's a little bit tough to justify. And then on top of that, L5988 is a little bit more difficult than the integrated L5987, usually because it's like the difference being that the component is integrated into the foot versus a separate component. That's how L5988 is listed. So I would say, in my own experience putting this stuff together, that having these codes as the recommended codes would be a tough row to hoe for getting it justified. I want people to call me on things like you gave me some feedback, Derek, and I wasn't irritated. I was happy because, like, when you spend all of your time doing a project, you get really close to it and you can't see things that other people can. The point is, like, maybe some people have had success with billing that code. Maybe they've gotten denials with billing that code. If you have another perspective that maybe I've missed, I want your input. I'm not saying like I'm the be all end all that I know everything about these feet just because I've spent time reading this stuff.
I think that's where the community aspect was really nice, because I know you have the ratings and things. Maybe there'd be, a way to have any discussion board for each foot. That could be just a lot and overwhelming. I don't know how the system works, but something like that where there could be a community discussion. It's kind of like within our Discord, like we can open a thread as like a sidebar, but maybe that where it's like, hey, has anyone had success billing this code or using what justification? And like maybe there could be the ability to discuss a product instead of just leave a review.
Well,
But
Yeah.
no, I have set it up. So just so you know, I haven't tied these two together. So you could put like a 1 through 5 rating and submit that and it'll log it for the average rating. But I set it up so that you can write a comment. I'm kind of hoping that this will be like a message board, like a
Yeah.
thread.
Yeah. Well, I think the community around this product, like this is the base floor for something that could grow, something that could really become meaningful and full of value for a group of people. I was excited to show everyone at the DLC this product because I think, there's great overlap. Right? What do you want to see as the next step for anyone who's interested in maybe getting access or helping you with testing or giving that kind of feedback?
I'm just mostly looking for people that are interested in trying to use the platform and just see what they get out of it. One issue that Derek kind of ran into and he saw is that the platform is on Glide, and the way that it's hosted is I can have unlimited personal users, which means like a Gmail account, a Yahoo account, all those are fine. If you have like your work email or because it just requires your email. If you want to reach out, then I can share the link with you. Just let me know if you have any issues. But I would just say maybe start with something like that, or if you want to give me some guidance about the community.
It's a starting point, growth point, right? It's not supposed to be perfect the first time. So we're going to make it great together.
thank you, Kerri.
Well, thanks, guys.
Fantastic.